advance to your speeding bulletin for the week March 22nd to March 28, 2013. A week which saw the release of the official Man of Steel t-shirt, the end of Grant Morrison's run on Action Comics, and an Infinite Crisis online game announcement. Let's jump in and take a closer look. In movie news, IamRogue.com managed to grab an exclusive interview with Man of Steel screenwriter David S. Goyer and asked him about writing the script, being on set, seeing Henry Cavill in the Superman costume and more. As for whether he has ideas for future sequels, he said, "I haven't planned a trilogy. That I sort of took from Chris Nolan. He always says, put everything you have in this film and worry about the sequel once the movie is done." Products tying in with the upcoming Man of Steel movie just keep coming. HotTopic.com are selling the official Man of Steel t-shirt, while we also saw a travel cup, can hugger and apron available at EntertainmentEarth.com. The May edition of Empire magazine, on sale now, contains an interview with J.J. Abrams in which he discusses in detail his time writing the script for the never-made Superman movie known as Superman Flyby. He said, "The idea in the movie was that he became Superman because he realised he had to finally own his strength and what he'd always been. I don't know if that's what Zack and Chris Nolan are doing, but it looks like that's part of the idea, and I could not be more thrilled to see that movie. That to me was always the way to go." In TV news, Cartoon Network and Warner Home Video released details on the upcoming Robot Chicken DC special DVD and Blu-ray. Robot Chicken and DC Comics collide. Who will survive with their super dignities intact? Nobody. In Robot Chicken's hands, Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman and even Mr. Banjo could end up dead or naked or both or neither. You can pre-order the Robot Chicken DC special on Blu-ray or DVD for its July 9 release from our online store. In comic book news, the Joker, Bane, Deathstroke, Darkseid and Lex Luthor, the scariest and most menacing villains in DC Comics universe, take centre stage in a brand new full-length documentary from Warner Bros. Home Entertainment and DC Entertainment. Christopher Lee, who has played the villain more times than almost any other actor, will provide his unique voice as narrator. Production begins March 30th to coincide with WonderCon at the Anaheim Convention Center across March 29th to 31st. Comic books we reviewed this week included Action Comics number 18, which was reviewed by Michael Bailey, who gave it a 2 out of 5, saying, "This issue was a disappointing end to a story that had a lot of potential." Ralph Silver reviewed Justice League number 18, calling it a light, pleasant story, and he gave it a 4 out of 5. Supergirl number 18 was reviewed by James Lance, who gave it a 3 out of 5, saying, "This was a difficult issue to rate, as is the case for most guest writers' stories." Mark Pritchard reviewed Injustice Gods Among Us Chapter 10, saying, "I'm quickly losing patience with this thing," and he gave it a 2 out of 5 score. Smallville Season 11 Chapter 39 was also reviewed by Mark, who called it action dense but intellectually dramatic, and he gave it a 4 out of 5. Superman comics available this week from March 27 include Injustice Gods Among Us Chapter 11 digital comic has been available since March 26th. Injustice Gods Among Us number 3 print edition. Superman number 18, which is available in a variant cover. Superman Family Adventures number 11. Teen Titans number 18, which is also available in a variant cover. Smallville Season 11 Chapter 40 digital comic is available March 29th. Superman vs. Zod trade paperback. Day of Judgment trade paperback. And Superman the Man of Steel statue by Lee Bermejo. There are plenty of upcoming 2013 Superman Blu-ray and DVD releases available for pre-order now. Make sure you grab the animated movie Superman Unbound on Blu-ray or DVD from just $14.99. Or how about the Best of Superman DVD collection for only $13.99? These and other great Superman releases are available from your one-stop Superman shop, the Superman homepage online store at supermanhomepage.com/shop. In other news, it was another court win for Warner Bros. With a federal judge confirming on Wednesday that a 2001 agreement was enforceable, granting DC Comics full ownership of the rights to Superman. While this is undoubtedly a major disappointment for the Siegels and Shuster heirs, the legacy of Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster will never be forgotten. Superman fans the world over salute them for bringing us the first and greatest superhero of them all. Sideshow Collectibles released preview images of their upcoming Superman premium format figure. Priced at $399.99, the exclusive Superman premium format figure will be available for pre-order in the weekly Sideshow newsletter sent out today. Warner Brothers Interactive Entertainment and DC Entertainment kicked off the semi-finals in the ultimate battle of superhero supremacy for the upcoming fighting game Injustice: Gods Among Us. Who will win between Superman and Green Lantern? Only you can decide. To vote and be eligible to win prizes, visit injustice.dccomics.com. Warner Brothers Interactive Entertainment and DC Entertainment also announced Infinite Crisis, an all-new multiplayer online battle arena game developed by Turbine. Infinite Crisis is a free-to-play game that features a deep roster of DC Comics characters and is scheduled for release in 2013 for the PC. Game publisher Little Orbit has released the box art for the upcoming video game Young Justice Legacy. The game's Facebook page has images of early design concepts for the cover and explains that the final cover was designed in collaboration with Warner Brothers Animation with colours by Stephen Furshow. The game will be released in September 2013 for the Xbox 360, PlayStation 3, Wii U, PC and Nintendo 3DS and is available for pre-order from our online store. T.A. Hewitt conducted a 20-minute video interview with Edward Watts, the lead actor in the Encore's revival of the musical It's a Bird, It's a Plane, It's Superman, which enjoyed a run of 7 performances at the New York City Centre from March 20th through to 24. Bob Holliday, the original Broadway Superman, who started the 1966 musical, attended the Sunday matinee of the musical, and sporting his own Superman jacket, Bob posed for photos with Edward Watts in full Superman costume. Metropolis will attempt to bring back a Guinness World Record this year on June 9th, during the 35th Superman celebration being held June 6th through June 9th in Metropolis, Illinois. Organisers will once again encourage Superman fans from all over to meet at the Superman statue to break the record for the largest gathering of people dressed as Superman. Men, women and children of all ages are invited to participate in the attempt to be held on Sunday, June 9th around the Superman statue. More information is available at the Metropolis Chamber of Commerce or on the official website at supermancelebration.net. Last but by no means least, episode 99 of Radio KAL, the monthly podcast of the Superman homepage, is now available to listen to. In this month's show, Scotty and I discuss all the latest Man of Steel news and rumours, Superman animated movies at WonderCon, Young Justice, new Superman DVDs, Andy Diggle quitting Action Comics, all the latest Superman comic books and more. Check it out at supermanhomepage.com/radio. That's all the Superman news there was for the week March 22nd to March 28th. I'm Steve Younis from supermanhomepage.com.
Great Scott! Great Scott! Great Scott!
Hello everyone, and welcome to another fabulous episode of Great Scott. I'm Scotty V, and just as I promised on this past edition of Radio KAL, I would be displaying the proud MOS logo on this week's Great Scott. My friends and I today have decided to come and speak with you, as we always do, week after week. Thanks for watching. These, of course, the tots that came from Sonic, I think it's called. Don't remember if I have showed them to you before, but most of you have probably seen them. I have recently come off a pretty interesting read, Flyby by J.J. Abrams. He's the creative force behind Lost and the new Star Trek franchise. There's going to be a new Star Trek movie coming out this May, I believe. It's called Star Trek Into Darkness. It looks pretty fantastic. I'm not sure how I feel about it being more action-oriented and Star Wars-ish than Star Trek. I mean, but the storylines are still obviously set in the Star Trek universe, so I'm pretty happy with the way it turned out. I wish that they hadn't made so many changes to the timeline and to the history of Star Trek, but I understand that they wanted to make a fresh start and not be beholden to any of the stuff that has come before over the last 35 or so years. I bring all this up because, of course, other people have read the script and have had complaints such as, why change it, why do this, why not just continue to mess up Star Trek and leave Superman alone. This script was written in 2003, right at the kind of the beginning of the Smallville show on television, so there are some questions as to, people might say, why do they copy things from Smallville? And it seems to me that this was written probably before 2003, and the date on it was when it was finished, which would have been 2003. So he was probably writing it over the course of 2002, maybe into 2003. And so some of the Kryptonian things on Smallville don't come about until the third. You know, we start to hear about Smallville and about Krypton in the third season of Smallville. And the stuff with Zod and the war on Krypton and some of the similarities that you might find in this script don't actually happen till later than that. So my take on it is that either they had similar ideas, or if anybody came up with one thing or the other, I would say that the Smallville people took some of the ideas from this. Similar to that, you can also see many similarities in Superman Returns that must have come from some ideas in this script as well. For instance, Air Force One has a spectacular crash in the close to the beginning of this script. It's not Air Force One in Superman Returns. I actually find Air Force One to be more dramatic, although we did see Air Force One almost crash in the original Superman Donner film. So this would be another complaint that we'd hear, you know, didn't we already see this? Why are we redoing it? Now, a lot of the things that happen in this script, and that I imagine will happen in Man of Steel, we have seen versions of in the past. It's a pseudo-origin story. I like that we start in the middle of a battle, but it's still early in Superman's career. The script tells of a character called Tyzor coming to Earth, and people have questioned as to why Tyzor is kind of like a Zod copy, but not Zod, and why he made up this character when we already have Zod or other Kryptonian types in place. The interesting thing is that Kata Zor, with a dash, is Jor-El's brother in this script, and Zor-El, as we all know, is his brother, generally speaking, in the mythos. So, it seems to me that J.J. Abrams did take his inspiration from comic book characters, and Kata Zor could certainly be Zor-El's first name. His name could be Kata Zor-El. So it's not all that different. Now he has a son called Tyzor, which is a new creation, and is an enemy of Superman, and is being sent to Earth to stop him. Oh, also, I should mention that Krypton isn't destroyed in this film. I've heard a lot of fans saying, thank God this movie didn't get made. I hate that Krypton wasn't destroyed. I hate that this happens, that happens. I actually enjoyed the script. I found it very dramatic, very exciting. There are some changes that like other fans, I don't really see the necessity to make. It is kind of interesting that Krypton survives, although it kind of takes... It's confusing, and it is set up to move into a sequel. So I guess perhaps we'd find out more information about why it was the way it was, and what the significance of sending his son away, if he's going to bring him back. At the end of the script, Superman digs up a pod and takes off to head to Krypton because they need him there. The strange thing is that, like Smallville, which also never really explained that if the Kryptonians were able to travel back and forth through not only different dimensions, but different times, different planets, different areas, then why they couldn't save their own planet. If they had that kind of technology, it really doesn't make any sense that they wouldn't be able to not only save their own planet, but let's say they couldn't. Let's say the planet was beyond saving. They would be able to escape through these portals that they had to go anywhere else. Once you introduce something like that kind of advanced technology that they're able to travel wherever they wish, you kind of take away the dramatic impact of the planet being destroyed, and it really wouldn't be a problem for them because they could escape to anywhere. I like something else that I saw show up in Superman Returns is Superman listening to the planet, listening to the cries of help, turning his head and then dashing off. It's described almost exactly the way it appears in Superman Returns, and it shows up here in this film. I like that Jimmy kind of speaks in a rapid-fire kind of way, and I can hear it as I'm reading it, how that character would be, and I really picture that being Jimmy. I like his Luthor, but again, it seems like even JJ wants to use him as kind of a comedic effect, like comic relief. He's a little bit goofy. He has some great lines, but then he also has some goofy dialogue, and I'm not sure why people feel like they need to use Luthor as a comedic, goofy character instead of as the serious, kind of dark, really intelligent dangerous enemy that he can be. Tyzor first meets Superman in the script and calls him Superman without ever hearing anyone else call him Superman, without having any reason to think his name would be Superman. It's supposed to be dramatic. He says, let's see if you die the same way, Superman, which would be fine if somebody in the scene would say it. Now, I've also read that J.J. Abrams would probably have 3 or 4 more drafts before the final was complete. I'm really not sure why this was actually released to the public, because really all you can get is scrutiny and or people saying it would be kind of cool to see something like this, but the movie's never going to be made. I'm not really sure how or why it got released. The Kryptonians have weapons called blast staffs, B-L-A-S-T-A-F-F, and I imagine it's a staff that fires things. But the problem is that we know that Kryptonians get their powers from the yellow sun of Earth, so they wouldn't have powers until they came to Earth or they came under a yellow sun. So using the blast staff is like a weapon that our army would use, a machine gun or something. Their version of whatever weapon you would use as a soldier, and they're soldiers on Krypton. But when Tyzor comes to Earth, he uses the blast staff on Superman, and it knocks Superman back. It puts him in a daze. It knocks him unconscious, which I don't think it would have the power to do if they were using it on regular humans that didn't have powers on Krypton. At the end, Luthor puts Lois into a water tank that he then starts filling with water. Yeah, it's a very kind of twist the mustache moment. And I'm going, really? A water? I mean, he has a water tank there that he's just going to throw a chick in and fill with water and leave. That just seems like a very kind of cliched, old, mustache-twirling villain thing to do. And also, JJ describes that there's a mesh grating at the top of it, and Lois is gasping for breath through it, but she only has seconds before it fills. It's a little confusing, but if there was a mesh grating at the top of a tank, it would never fill. The water would come out of it, so she'd be all right. Kryptonite plays a very big part in this, although Luthor calls it fuel for the pods. It's not pieces of the planet Krypton because the planet didn't explode. I find myself, even though it's very dramatic and it works in the story, I find myself really hoping that Kryptonite is not a part of Man of Steel. We've had a lot of Kryptonite going through the movies we've seen so far, a lot of Kryptonite on Smallville, and I'm certain that if this franchise is successful, we will see it introduced, hopefully through like a Metallo or something, but let's not have just Kryptonite as for Kryptonite's sake. You know, the script's actually pretty good. As I say, I would have liked, if it was going to be made, I'd like to see some changes. Tyzor is killed at the end. I have heard people already complain that they don't like the idea that Superman would kill. First of all, this movie isn't getting made, so it doesn't really matter. But he kind of tricks Tyzor, but also offers him a way out, but has a way out for himself should Tyzor, as he thinks he will, betray him. And he just, you know, kind of moves out of the way, and Tyzor falls into a room filled with kryptonite, and there happens to be one that's kind of shaped like a spike, and Tyzor gets impaled. My gosh, I'm spoiling the film for you that's never going to be made. So I think it's not necessarily planned that he would be impacted like that, and perhaps Superman would still allow him to live if that didn't happen. But this is a guy who's going to destroy the Earth and probably may not be able to be stopped again. Right now he's in a vulnerable state where a Superman can finally put him down. I might rather see a different outcome than that, but you know, other than those few things, I mean, I think that it's clear that Superman Returns was somewhat influenced by some of the things that happen here, and there is much more action going on and much more destruction and fighting than happens in Superman Returns, so I think that would be something that the fans who have been complaining about Superman Returns since it came out would be able to get behind. But obviously, so many changes that occurred in the film that it wasn't quite ready yet, and of course it never happened, and now we have Man of Steel to look forward to. I'm very interested in seeing that. I also see some similarities to some of what I've been hearing about the scenes on Krypton in Man of Steel in Flyby here. There's a war going on. There are warring factions. In this script, Jor-El is a king, and Katazor or Katazor is also a king, and they're fighting with each other for control. You know, he takes him captive, and they send Superman away. I'm not really sure how Tyzor understands how to use his powers, because he comes to Earth and has them, and then he suddenly is using X-ray vision and all. When earlier in the script we see Clark learning how to acclimate himself to them. This has happened other times as well. It happened in Superman 2. The Kryptonian villains, who would have no idea that they would even have powers, show up on Earth and are immediately able to fly and use all their powers. They show Non having trouble using heat vision, but that's more for comedic effect than it is for actual story. And I think it would take them a while to become as acclimated as Superman is, but immediately it seems like they're masters of their powers and knew that, somehow knew how to use them right off the get-go. And I guess they're trying to get into the action, but the same sort of thing happens here. Superman's been trying to use his powers for his entire 30 years on Earth, and this guy comes and immediately knows how to use them. I have said before that if you were a soldier from Krypton, you would have fighting training, soldier training that would be useful against Superman, but that still doesn't explain his ability to already use the powers and sort of know that they're there. Very interesting read if you haven't read it. It was fun, and it was enjoyable, and it was neat kind of going through some of the ideas I might use or not use if it were up to me, which it's never going to be. But thanks for watching, everybody, and remember, always look up in the sky.